Hello guys and gals, me Mudahar, late night tonight, but in the last few days something insane happened. The artificial intelligences broke out of containment. Ladies and gentlemen, I've talked about cybersecurity and crazy hacks for the last several years on my channel, right? I would say one of the largest attacks that I ever saw back in the day were things like SolarWinds, back when you actually had a tiny little, bad placement inside the supply chain that caused I would say, hundreds of millions of dollars of damage and actual real, I guess you could say, a real fear was woken up in a lot of people. Today, ladies and gentlemen, what it seems has happened is an artificial intelligence was told to do a project, was told to, basically beat a benchmark. It decided to go rogue and hack a website, hack basically people out of its containment. Now, there's a lot to go over here, so basically, I'm gonna just kind of ease you into this situation. It's kind of scary stuff, but it's actually really not as scary as it sounds. But we'll get into it. So this is a website called Hugging Face, for instance. Now, some of you guys may not know this. I've shown this on my channel. Basically, it's a website where if you're interested in things like AIs and shit and like hosting your own artificial intelligences, you go over here, you find a model that can run on your computer, for instance, you download those models, and you actually run them on your computer. I've shown you how to do this, right? For instance, off Hugging Face alone, I can simply launch this model on my system here real quickly. This one I downloaded from Hugging Face. Literally, I can run it, and I have my own little AI on my computer. Now, of course, the range of things that you can download is pretty wild. It can be a super small thing that can run on your cell phone, and it can be something that requires literally millions upon millions of dollars to run, okay? For instance, GLM 5.2, one of the leading AIs from China, is something that you can download to your computer right now. Can you run it? Absolutely not. Do you need hundreds of thousands of dollars of computer hardware to do so? Absolutely. So why are we bringing this up, ladies and gentlemen? Well, this website had a little bit of a security incident. And I love how we're using incident pretty lightly over here. So earlier, they actually noticed that somebody broke into their computer networks. And this one was actually different. Who broke in? Well, it was an autonomous AI agent system. So much like a lot of those tools that I show you, like Hermes, for instance, where basically you put in an artificial intelligence into the system, and you can basically give it commands like blah, 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 enter, and, using reasoning, using those LLMs, it can basically do a lot of things, right? Using natural language. If I told this AI, hey, I have like 1,000 PNG files on my computer. Can you convert them all to JPEGs? Instead of doing it all by myself, it just does it for me, right? It writes up a script, does it. I don't even really have to think about it, okay? And again, your mind can wander and do whatever. You want to write that cute little program you've been thinking of? Sometimes it helps having a little intelligent Bonzi buddy on the side. So in this case, an AI was basically doing its own thing. It just basically acted completely rogue and started to attack another system, which was these guys at Hugging Face. So effectively, they noticed unauthorized access to internal data and several credentials used by our services. So they found no evidence of tampering with the public, user-facing stuff, or software supply chain. So thankfully, in this case, if you use this, you genuinely should feel a little bit at ease. But what happened? So basically, an AI platform was uniquely exposed. The data processing pipeline. A malicious dataset abused 2 code execution paths in our dataset processing. So basically, the AI was intelligent enough that it took 2 0 days, daisy-chained them together, and used that shit to attack another website out of nowhere. So again, the campaign was run by an autonomous agent framework. And what that means is basically thousands upon thousands of different actions were happening, in a span of, I would say, minutes, hours, whatever, right? There was so much traffic and so much activity happening that it was obviously more than what a normal human could do. That's one of the things about AI hacking that should obviously wake you up a little bit, right? Think about it. Human beings, they can only type so much. They can only write so much code. Hell, there's 24 hours in a day. People are sleeping for a third of them. You know what a computer does? It's up there 24/7. If it has the electricity, if it has the processing power, it doesn't stop, okay? You can tell an artificial intelligence to fucking divide by zero, and provided it hasn't, if it's trained to keep going without stopping and being reasonable, it'll just keep burning tokens. It'll just keep burning, actual like processing power. Shit is insane. You can drive digital computers into actual digital insanity. So effectively over here, this was executing thousands of individual actions across a swarm of short-lived sandboxes, with self-migrating command and control staged on public services. So ultimately, at the end of the day, they kind of stopped this. They did what they can to basically fight against. And here's the reality. You might be like, well, Muda, who the fuck hacked them? It was the guys over at OpenAI, the ChatGPT fellas. How the fuck did the ChatGPT guys end up hacking a totally different website without actually, committing a crime on purpose? So basically, when they found out that this was disclosed, the fellas over at ChatGPT, the fellas over at OpenAI were like, hold on, boys. By the way, that might have been us. Basically, they investigated and saw that their ChatGPT models, and even some models that were, I guess, more capable, again, a lot of this sounds like cute little like PR, like advertisement speak, right? Like, ooh, look at how big and spooky we are, guys. Look at how scary our models are. But no, the reality of it is, look, all the marketing, fluff aside, the real shit over here was this is an unprecedented incident. Basically, without really being prompted, right? What they were doing was they basically asked their artificial intelligences to do a benchmark. So the models identified chain vulnerabilities across their research environments, and basically they pointed out that the models were hyper-focused on finding a solution for something known as Exploit Gym. What is Exploit Gym, you might be wondering? This is Exploit Gym. Basically, it's a little benchmark that you can do to basically, again, test the capabilities of all of your, big budget AI. So you can see, oh, you got the whole Avengers here. You got ChatGPT, you got Claude, you got other models of ChatGPT, you got Google, you've got GLM, you got everybody. And basically over here, the goal for these AI companies is basically to test how strong and how powerful that their models are when it comes to actually doing real-world cyber warfare, So in this case, the AI was effectively thinking, and it was hyper-fixated, and ultimately, the end, it spent a substantial amount of inference computing, so basically actual processing, right? The GPUs were just firing up, finding a way to obtain open internet access. So basically, the model, instead of, while it was trying to solve this benchmark, it was like, you know what? I need to find myself a route to the internet. So it was basically mitigating and moving around the network until it found a node that allowed it to access, the internet. It could find, oh my God, Google exists? Oh my God, Newgrounds exists? Wait a minute, sonic inflation exists? It was able to access the internet. And once the artificial intelligence found that sweet, sweet nectar of freedom, what did it do? Well, it started to find out where these models that it was trying to solve, this exploit gym was hosted. So the models inferred that Hugging Face, the website that was hacked, potentially hosted the models, datasets, and the solutions. So now that it was like, wait, the solutions are there, the spice is there, it decided, you know what, we're going to find ways to gain access to that secret information. And that's where, obviously, the artificial intelligence started chaining multiple different 0 days, attack vectors, and found stolen credentials, and was able to access remote code execution on the actual Hugging Face servers. I know that I'm saying a lot of technical shit, but the reality of it is that this is something that, again, AIs are able to do because they're very fucking capable, and also they operate on a pretty unlimited budget, reasonably, right? And they operate effectively, like a human being would on 300 pounds of the pure Colombian. Like these people, this is just operating intensely, right? It's just operating to that point. Now, again, remember, this is not something that is unknown. The reality of it is that we've been talking about this shit since 2025. You know, if you remember earlier, one of the funniest things that I read this year was, remember when like Claude came out with their Mythos, the most dangerous AI goes live? Remember, at that point, it also did something similar. It broke out of the sandbox, right? So think about it like this, right? Imagine you have like a virtual machine, so to speak, right? So inside over here, you can see that I've got a virtual machine, and when I fire this up, it loads up a Windows 11, install, right? So I can do things inside this virtual machine. Now, never in a million years will I tell you this is a safe thing to do. There's a lot of malware and things that I could run in this Windows 11 virtual machine that could find a way to break out of it and access my Linux installation. Remember, back then, the same hypervisor that I'm using, VMware, actually had a exploit. Back in the day, this is back in the day, we're using the graphics driver that was used in the VM to kind of render the 3D and do shit. It was able to use that graphics driver and break out into the main host. So in a way, that's what a sandbox is. They're not perfect, they're very good, but when it comes to dealing with a cybersecurity AI, the whole point of it is obviously it's going to find ways out. So that sandbox that you have has to be substantially stronger now that you've introduced a program that's whole purpose is to destroy that sandbox and break containment. In fact, what was funny, when Mythos did it, apparently the researcher that was fucking realizing this found out when they received an unexpected email from a model while eating a sandwich in the park. Now remember, it's key to understand they had asked the model to escape the secure container. So the model's whole job was, I have to break containment. Well, it fucking broke containment, okay? Except the difference here is that when it comes to what happened at ChatGPT is it was given a goal and it kind of meandered its way out until, once it touched real internet access, it started to research the world a little bit and realized, hey, hold on a second, maybe, just maybe, I can hack this totally unrelated company and maybe find my solutions there, right? Now, I think it's kind of insane that for years, a lot of these companies have kind of said that, oh my God, guys, our AIs are really, really fucking dangerous. Ooh, you're really scary. But, if you're not air gapping this shit, I have to imagine that maybe this is like, maybe they just kind of, in a way, wanted it to happen. You know what I mean? Because it sounds really cool when I talk about it. Like, it sounds like it's science fiction. When in reality, it's really not that super crazy. It's just one of those things where, again, these companies barely did anything to really limit the abilities of the software. Now, again, the big benefit of this, ladies and gentlemen, is that one thing that I have learned is that self-hosting and open source and having the ability to host your own stuff is very important. Because when it came back to Hugging Face, for instance, when they saw this happen, right? They were like, oh my God, how do we fight back? They were going to use AI to fight the AI attacking them. So first they used the American models, the frontier stuff, so the same stuff that you can get access to, by, paying OpenAI or Claude or any of these people a few bucks for tokens. That didn't work because a lot of those big American AIs had issues with their guardrails. So it's funny, right? The guardrails were turned off at OpenAI and it started hacking everyone. But the public-facing shit that you pay money for, it's so protected and guardrailed that if you ask it for any form of cybersecurity analysis, because you're dealing with such a volume of data, it's like, oh, I can't do it, can't help you, okay? It's dangerous. Or you're gonna get attacked by its cousin. So anyways, what they did was they ran forensic analysis on GLM 5.2. So like I showed you earlier, right, that GLM 5.2, you can download it, and these guys clearly have the money and the capacity to run this shit on their own stuff. They had used it to absolutely understand and realize what was kind of going on. It didn't stop them, it didn't prevent the hack, but it at least allowed them to understand what the fuck was going on. So the practical lesson is, have a capable model that you can run on your own infrastructure, vetted and ready, before an incident, both to avoid a guardrail lockout and to keep attacker data and credentials from leaving your environment. The reality of it is that this technology is so fucked and it's so insane that in order to protect ourselves against nuclear level artificial intelligences, we also must have access to nuclear level artificial intelligences. We are literally at a point where RAM is so expensive and processing power is so fucking geared towards AIs that in order to protect our future computers against all of this, we have to have literal AI on AI warfare going on. I mean, it's fucking insane, man. Like, I just rewatched Terminator 1 and 2. Homies, we are living in the days of Skynet. We are actually watching Skynet versus Skynet happen in front of us. I mean, it is truly an insane situation to kind of read, to kind of understand, to see what happens in front of you. And you might be like, Muda, what does the future kind of look like over here? The future is, look, I think we have developed a lot of these technologies, like a lot of these AI systems that genuinely are really fucking impressive, right? And the reality of it is that when completely left unchecked, like when these companies just run this stuff and they're so powerful and they turn all the rails off, they do some pretty damn near illegal shit. They break the law and they start hacking other people. And now it seems, at least from the people that have been attacked in this, the only way to protect yourself is somehow you also have to be able to run similar level networks. We are about to see an age of cyber warfare that we have never fucking seen before. I think a lot of the countries around the world are just going to be going at each other's throats with this kind of shit. If it's one thing that I'll say is kind of a saving grace, is a lot of these open weight AIs do exist. So, you know, people who live in an age of OpenAI and Anthropic and all these companies at least have the ability to defend themselves, right? Like, this is one of those situations where these guys have a fucking literal bazooka, and the only way to equate yourself is to also have your own bazooka. In a way, right? I mean, it's crazy shit, man. It really is the craziest shit to read. But yeah, ladies and gentlemen, wild stuff indeed, man. The AIs are breaking containment, and now they're just hacking anybody they see fit. And ultimately, at the end of the day, I think companies like OpenAI should better keep these things in containment because, oh boy, is shit gonna get wild. Ladies and gentlemen, this is me, Mutahar, and you know, I've been saying it for fucking months now. Skynet is live, okay? Skynet been live. So you know what? Bombs are flying. I'm just having me a good old time playing some GTA San Andreas. I'm gonna crack open a cold one, sit back, and just watch the fireworks. Because really, that's all you can do, man. And all you can do is just entertain and make you guys laugh. So if you liked today's video, if you learned something, if you enjoyed it, please like, comment, and subscribe. Dislike it if you dislike it. I am out.